Losing track of my time. Glenn knows what this is like. I came back from, we came back from Eastern Shore of Virginia last night. It was about 1 o'clock in the morning. We spent 2 days up there. And that's 4.5 hours away, by the way. So it's this is a big state when you travel around. Before we begin, I did want to introduce my wife of 22 years, Maria, over here. And she's been able to go around with me a lot this year. Our boys are a little bit older. I ran for lieutenant governor, and I know, thanks for your support. Some of you who were there last time in 2013 when I ran for lieutenant governor. Our kids were small, but now they're 15 and 17, and to be honest with you, they really like when we're out of the house. So that gives Bria and I a chance to travel. You know what it is. You know what it's like to travel around Virginia together, and we're having a great time. And speaking of traveling around Virginia and having a great time, when I was chairman of the Trump campaign for 10 months, I had the pleasure of traveling around with somebody who I think you all know, and that's Alice Butler Short. Yeah. And Alice, come on up. Alice and I have this tradition. She always comes up and says a couple of nice things about me, so I'm going to let her do that
now. In Ireland, we say you can't blow your own horn, but I can do it for him.
I must not be Irish then.
But before we start, just a little plug for Virginia Women for Trump. You know, I'm the founder and chairperson, and we are continuing. And coming up soon, we will have a big event to celebrate the first 100 days. So we have a website that's a work in progress, but please go on there, virginiawomenfortrump.com, fill out the membership, no charge, and that way you'll get notification. So back to Corey. Yes, we did have a lot of fun traveling around the state. And, you know, I do not speak for all Virginia Women for Trump when it comes to the candidate for governor, but I am personally supporting him because I came to know him very, very well. He, like me, he was out there on the front line at the beginning when it wasn't popular. And we got a great reception everywhere we went. We had great faith. And then when we had our rally downtown, things kind of went a little...
you would have to bring that
up. We have to bring it up because what Corey was saying was the truth. And if you heard me defend him on the John Fredericks show, if you haven't, go look it up. It was the truth. What was happening was the truth. But Corey, you know, in politics or friendships, what I think is really, really important is loyalty. And Corey is loyal. Even at that point, he remained loyal. And he came out, he was still out there right to the very 11th hour, supporting now President Trump. Don't we all love to say President Trump? Yeah. And so he did absolutely great work. Another thing I'd like to tell you about Corey is that when he was a teenager, he started the first teenage Republican club in his, was that right?
Yeah.
In his hometown. And I'm not going to tell you over and over again that his father was a mailman, because we all got sick.
He wasn't.
I know he wasn't. There was one candidate, and I thought, my God, if he says his father's a mailman once more, I'm going to throw up. Corey has the background, and in a way it's like Trump. He can relate to everyone. He grew up in a working class family. He never lost the sense of his roots. He goes back there every year for a month. He chops wood and
well, if you say so. I
you do it out.
No, I just do that for the photo op. That's it.
Don't chop down the cherry tree.
Whatever. But this is a man of conviction. This is a man who will do what he says, and I am very, very proud to support him and to give him the floor now.
Okay, thanks, Alice. So, actually, my mailman now is one of my biggest supporters. I like mailmen. So, Hey, Glenn, thanks for taking all the parking spaces with your RV, by the way.
Hey, if I would have parked over, I had 5 more berries, amazing when it comes to parking.
Anyway, it's been a lot of fun. Glenn and I, we see each other on the trail quite a lot, and it is actually, I'm really enjoying this. We really are enjoying our travels around Virginia. It is such a great state. Maria and I went down to Charlottesville. I don't know how many of you saw this. It's been 3 or 4 weeks ago, but this really kind of changed the whole campaign because we didn't realize it was going to happen. The city of Charlottesville voted to take down a statue of Robert E. Lee. Did you all see that?
Yeah.
So they voted, and one of these guys, I can't even, I'm not even going to say the things that he said because it's so repulsive.
Yes.
But he's a Democrat on the, not just a Democrat, I mean a far left Democrat on the city council for Charlottesville. And he's an outright, I can't even say it. He's really a bad guy. Anyway, so we went down there, Maria and I did, and we went there with an African-American conservative Facebook activist. His name is Thaddeus Dion Alexander. He's got a couple of million followers on Facebook. And we went down there to defend the statue of Robert E. Lee, and we did a Facebook Live. We're doing that, by the way, smile everybody, you're on Facebook Live. We do this all the time now. But we went down there, and so far that video, on my Facebook, we got mobbed by the lefties. Lots of them. And they came out, they were pushing us around, they were very aggressive, and we had to have Maria escorted back to my truck because they were really nasty. But that video so far on my Facebook has got 105,000 views. And on the conservative response team, it has 350,000 views, most of which are from Virginia. So a lot of people are finding out about this stuff. And they're seeing what the left is all about because at the end of the day, they were not interested in a dialogue. They were not, it's really ironic that they call themselves indivisible. Because really, they're all about dividing. They're about dividing on racial lines, they're dividing about ethnic lines, they're dividing about socioeconomic lines. They are not interested in the welfare of our country, or certainly not in the welfare of the Commonwealth. So we got there, we got mobbed, and people saw it, and people are coming to the defense. Now I, like many of you I'm sure, I was not born here. How many of you, moved here from some other state or some other place? I mean, most of us in this room, especially in Northern Virginia, this is the case. But we moved here because we love it, right? We love Virginia. We respect its history. We respect the heritage and when Virginia adopted us, we adopted Virginia. And it's our responsibility to stand up for this state. Now, Robert E. Lee, just a little bit, I mean, a lot of you are aware of who he was, but let me tell you something about him. He was the last person who wanted to secede from the Union. He was the last person who wanted to do that. His home was right there, Arlington Manor, which is, of course, it's Arlington National Cemetery today. His beloved home. He did not want to secede. And when the Virginia voted to secede, the very day, day after, he met with President Lincoln's representative and was asked to lead the Union troops. And Lee said, look, I'm a proud American, but I will not raise my sword against my family in Virginia. I will not raise my sword against Virginia. So and then after the war, when he became president of Washington College, now it's Washington and Lee University, he expelled white students who attacked black citizens. Robert E. Lee is an American hero. After the war, he worked to reconcile the two sides. And because of that, our country healed much quicker than it otherwise would have healed. And therefore, the citizens of the Commonwealth put up statues of him. This statue had been there since 1924. And let me tell you something as governor. Now, my opponent for governor will not do this. He says it's a local matter, and it's just fine if Charlottesville wants to take down this statue. I completely disagree. Because we have to stand up for our heritage. We can never back down to the left. Ever. I don't know about you, but I'm really sick and tired of political correctness. Really sick and tired of it. When somebody starts trying to rewrite your history, they always have an end in mind. There's a reason they're trying to change our history and rewrite it. This is what tyrants do. This is what tyrants do. Another thing on political correctness, and by the way, I started this series, it's called Killing Political Correctness. It's kind of a, you know, I got the idea from O'Reilly, but well, whatever. He hasn't sued me yet. He hasn't sued me yet, so. Anyway, we did this thing. Okay, now, this is really bad. Do you know that at UVA, there is a dean of students there. His name is Alan Groves. And he's got this so-called Green Dot program. You know what the Green Dot thing is? If you, as a student or as a professor, witness any other student or professor doing anything that is so-called bias, anything, and they list it all, anything, if you say something against, you know, homosexuality or transgender, or anything that's racially or insensitive, anything, you are supposed to report that student or professor.
This is communism.
You are supposed to report them anonymously. What does that sound like?
Communism.
You know, I was in Poland in 1990. Right after, it was January of 1990, I came there. The Polish government had just fallen in August of '89. And I traveled around Eastern Europe, and most of the communist governments, with the exception of the Bulgarian communist government, they all collapsed at that point. And when you would have a discussion with a student over there, or any citizen for that matter, in Eastern Europe, about politics, the first thing that they would do was look around. Because their citizens, their fellow citizens, were encouraged to report other citizens. To report to the government anything that was incorrect politically. That's what's become of our universities in this country. And let me say, our students, our children, and our kids are going to be going off to universities, hopefully in Virginia. And this is not just a cost issue for us, because all of these professors that are teaching all of this garbage, I mean, I hope I don't offend anybody when I say this, but look, if you study multiculturalism or gender studies or anything like that, guess what? You're not going to get a job when you get out of college. The only job you're ever going to get if you study that is to teach the same thing to other unsuspecting victims.
With George Soros.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So here we are as taxpayers subsidizing all this stuff. We're subsidizing, we're paying for it, but the biggest victims in all this are the students, our kids, because they're going to have mounds of student debt. And when they get out of school after 4 years, they can't find jobs. And we have to fix that. And I made this clear. One of the first things that I'm going to do as governor, and I have this power, we are going to appoint boards of visitors who will remove any administrator, any president, I don't care who they are. We're going to remove people like Alan Groves, and I've already made it very clear to him that I'm going to have him fired. Period. I think these issues are important. I know the biggest issue is economics. I'll talk a little bit about that. But I think they're very, very important because I think they show character, and we have to stop backing down to the left. I will not let go of the life issue. I know this might not be the most political thing to say, but I will not let it go. It's very fundamentally important. It's very fundamentally important. Now, this legislation that was proposed, and Glenn knows about this, it's to ban late-term abortions in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Of course, McAuliffe will never support this stuff. But think about this, folks. This is a 4.5 or 5-month-old baby. Or older. A 4.5 or 5-month-old baby, unborn baby. I will sign that bill in a moment prohibiting it.
Good.
Now some, believe it or not, and I never thought I would see this, but my opponent on the Republican side for governor won't sign the bill unless it contains a bunch of exceptions. The problem with the exceptions is, once you put the exceptions in there, you gut the bill. There's nothing left of it, and it won't do any good. And I just can't imagine. Late-term abortion amounts to infanticide. And as a society, we have an obligation, to protect. We bind ourselves together as a government, we bind ourselves together as a nation to protect what? To protect, first and foremost, life. We protect each other. We protect life. We protect each other's liberties. We protect each other's rights. And that is what I'm going to do. Now, for 10 years, I've governed Prince William County. 10 years. It's not as liberal as Fairfax, and you are all very, very brave for being up here in McLean and being conservative Republican women.
Arlington.
And Arlington. Arlington. You're all heroes as far as I'm concerned.
I'm in Vienna.
Yeah.
Prince William. I'm in Vienna.
Well, you're all in tough territory, even tougher than mine. But Prince William County isn't exactly a piece of cake anymore for Republicans. And it went over 60%, unfortunately, for Clinton. It went over 60% for Obama twice. And no other Republican has been able to win it, except for two. I have to correct this. There's only been 2 countywide Republicans, and as chairman of the Board of Supervisors of Prince William County, I'm elected countywide. All the other supervisors are district supervisors, like in Fairfax. You have a countywide elected chairman at large. And I've done that 4 times. 4 times. 2006, 2007, 2011, and 2015. By increasing margins. The only other the Republican who's been able to do it is the sheriff, Glenn Hill. And because we run together. And we run together on a very important issue that's very important to us. We put in place together the nation's toughest crackdown on illegal immigration anywhere in America in 2007. Anywhere. Now people ask me, because I travel around the state, and they say, well, how in the world can you be a conservative Republican in Prince William County in Northern Virginia and still stay elected, especially when you're cracking down on illegal immigration? How is that possible? And I said, it's very simple. It's common sense. Because here's the question I ask in Prince William County every time I'm up, and all the time. You ask this to Democrats, you can ask this to anybody of any race, any ethnicity, and ask this question. If somebody comes into our country illegally, and they commit a crime against you or a member of your family, should that person be allowed to stay in our country to continue to threaten Virginia families?
No.
Absolutely not. And you're going to get the same answer. I don't care what group it is. And that's why. So we put this policy into place, and it's very simple. You're arrested in our county. We check your immigration status. We don't care what color you are. We don't care what language you speak. We don't care what ethnicity you are. We check your immigration status. And if you're here in the United States illegally, we hand you over to ICE for deportation.
Good.
So far, and we have 660 police officers. 660 police officers, second largest county in the state. Since we put this policy into place in 2007, it was actually implemented in 2008, not one single case of racial profiling. Not one. Not one. We have handed over to the federal government 7,495 criminal illegal aliens.
Wow.
Almost 7,500. The crime rate went down by 48.7% in 3 years. Unfortunately, a lot of those illegals moved up here to Fairfax. We know that. I do apologize for that. But that is why it has to be a statewide policy. I know, it's true. And there are certain areas of Fairfax where you know it's definitely true. But anyway, And I got a funny little story about our good friend, Congressman Connolly. So when I put this policy in place, he was not yet congressman. He was my counterpart in Fairfax. He was chairman of the Board of Supervisors of Fairfax County. So we were going at it in the radio and different things like that. And he said, "Oh, I'm never going to do something so politically insensitive, blah, blah, blah." And I said, "Well, whatever. You can have all those illegal alien criminals. You're your problem now. We're getting them out of our county." Anyway, he was holding his board meeting at budget time. And as you know, what happens is every department head comes up in front of the Board of Supervisors, including the superintendent of schools. And they came up that year and they said, "Well, Mr. Chairman, we need some more money in our school system. We've had an unexpected increase in our ESOL population, English as a second language population." And he goes, "Yes." And he said, "And most of these students have come from Prince William County." And Jerry Connolly, I'm not kidding, this actually happened, it's on tape. He said, he got so angry because, you know, he goes, "How do you know they came from Prince William County?" And the superintendent, I'm not kidding, he said, just deadpan, "Well, because, sir, we have their transcripts." Anyway, I'll end it with this. I've been a very, very strong conservative. We brought down our tax bills, biggest tax cut in Prince William County history, cut tax bills by $400 in 1 year. Our average tax bills when I came to office were $4,141. Today, after we've added $300 million into our own road building programs, the largest in the state, by the way. We've added hundreds of new firefighters, hundreds of new police officers, hundreds and hundreds of new teachers, $50 million worth of new parks. The quality of life has gone up, and the tax bill in Prince William County today is $4,038. It has gone down. So much so, we've been able to keep our economic house in order, so much so that tax bills in Prince William County today are 30% less than the rest of Northern Virginia. So come on down to Prince William County, by the way. We'd love to have you. Taxes are low, crime is low, everything's good. I'm the only one who's been able to win here of all the governor candidates on the Republican side. I'm the only one who's been able to win in Northern Virginia in the big counties. 454,000 people, 54% minority, and I've been able to win it consistently. So if you want a conservative who's going to crack down on the illegal immigration, who's got the guts to stand up for our heritage, who knows how to cut spending, cut taxes, get things done, and who is a winner, then I'm your candidate. So thanks a lot.